Remember that song? The D, the I, the D, the D, the Y. It's Diddy. It's Diddy. Something like that. Anyway, it's not going well for Diddy or P. Diddy or Puff Daddy or whatever. Sean Combs is in a bad spot right now. He has been accused of sexual assault, murder, drug trafficking, rape, gang rape. It's a absolute nightmare list of potential charges. And what I wanted to do on this video, so if you're new here, my name is David Colarossi. I'm a licensed psychologist. I react to events in pop culture like the Diddy situation in an effort to help people think differently about psychology or be able to apply psychology to, events in pop culture. When I think about this Diddy situation, I think it's important to first say that he has not been, there's been no conviction yet. And so the media is going crazy as though all of this is 100% true. And I don't think that we can say that yet. And as 50 Cent said, I don't think that they break into all your homes with the force that they have of a celebrity without having a lot of evidence. So I think sort of the intuitive mind goes like, this looks not good for Diddy. So the question is, here's what I want to talk about. I want to stay out of the weeds as far as reporting on the news. I don't know how it will all shake out with him. What I do know is you have a very powerful person that has absolutely misused that power. So I want to talk about the impact of power, the influence of power, and what it does to somebody from a psychological standpoint. There's also a lot of evidence or a lot of accusations about him being abusive to people. Whether it's the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the murder, right? He's mistreating people. So I want to talk about how you create an abusive person. What's the mechanism behind that? And then there have been a lot of celebrities, Cuba Gooding Jr., Prince Harry, Jay-Z, that have sort of been pinned to J-Lo. It's a long list of very popular people that have been pinned to Diddy. And the question is, were these people involved? Are they complicit in this nightmarish behavior? Okay, let's start by talking about the money. The universal narrative is that when people get a lot of money, the kind of money that P. Diddy has, when you're a billionaire, you're no longer satisfied by the everyday positive things in life, and so you end up having distorted proclivities that lead you to hurt people. I don't think that there's any good data behind that. I don't think that there's not enough people that are in that tax bracket to be able to really evaluate it. There's not enough people in that tax bracket that have committed crimes or that are transparent about what they do and what they like for us really to study it. So you have a lot of people just sort of guessing at it. So I guess I would encourage you just to think about it from a logical standpoint. What does having no guardrails do? And the question is, does having no guardrails lead you to want to victimize people? I don't think that that's true. I think that what you see in somebody who, like Diddy, who becomes super wealthy and then has this distorted behavior, I think it's a consequence of that person already having a distorted mindset and then not being controlled. He's been told, essentially, you can do whatever you want and there's no repercussions. And so he's done things, potentially, he's been accused of doing things that are exceptionally sick. He's engaged in sick behaviors. But I don't think that the sickness is not a consequence of the wealth. The extent of the behavior, the fact that the behavior is unchecked, is a consequence of the wealth. In general, I would argue that being wealthy, extremely wealthy, makes you more of what you are. There are a lot of exceptionally wealthy people that engage in very positive behaviors and don't have any distorted interactions with people. They're not murdering people. They're not harming people sexually. They're not running sex rings. Like that kind of, not having whatever his freak off parties. Like that kind of behavior, it's a sick issue. It's not a wealth issue. Okay, so that brings us to the next question. How do you create this sick behavior? And the answer, in short, is trauma. Let me say it this way. if you look at the number of people, or if you look at people who have been traumatized, and then you go look, well, what percentage of the people that have been traumatized, let's just call it molested or abused as a kid, what percentage of those people go on to molest and abuse? The answer is very few. But if you look at the people that molest and abuse kids and go, what percentage of you were traumatized when you were young? The answer is, I would argue, all of them or 99% of them. Trauma does not always lead to abuse, but people that are abused are almost always traumatized, which is a really important distinction, because if you just get sloppy and say, if you were traumatized as a kid, you're more likely to traumatize kids as an adult, you then stigmatize the people that have been abused. And that's a totally unfair way to view it. Now, if you look at the list of things that Diddy has been accused of, murder, assault, sex trafficking, rape, underage girls, I mean, it is a horrific list of behaviors that, in my mind, only come from significant trauma. Diddy's dad was killed when I think he was 2. He was raised by his mother. I imagine he didn't have a lot of supervision. My guess would be that he was victimized early on and learned to have a distorted relationship with money, with power, and sex. And he has now harnessed his power, his position, his status to perpetrate on other people so that he can constantly push himself into a position of personal agency and power. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is the people around him. Are the people around him at these parties, these freakathons or freak-offs or whatever they're called, are those celebrities culpable?
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like? I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. It was pretty wild. There were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
I think the answer is yes. What I would disagree with is the sort of narrative in the media that all of these celebrities, that it was some kind of eyes wide shut thing where everybody was like, we want to go to this party and we want to victimize people. I don't think it happens that way. Like I said, just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you're sick. But I can imagine that Diddy used his position of power and status to maneuver people into situations where they didn't know what else to do.
Well, a lot of things I've seen and a lot of positions that I think I was put in where I had to make very, very tough decisions in my life about who I would.
Diddy had people around him that were financially dependent on him. So for those people, I think it was difficult to stand up to Diddy and stop it. I think you also have celebrities who are so focused on themselves, so focused about their position in society, that were like, you know what, I'm going to turn a blind eye to it so that I continue to have my status. I think you also have people that convinced themselves that it wasn't happening, right? You have some celebrities right now like 50 Cent and Cat Williams that are saying, hey, we all knew. I think they're, those are very powerful figures that were able to stand up. But there were some people, I think, that sort of may have known it was happening, but convinced themselves that it wasn't. I think that there's a lot of people that were in denial. So I guess what I'm arguing for is I don't know what was in the mind of each person at these parties. Certainly some people were actively involved and engaged in perpetrating like Diddy was. I would just say there's also nuance in there could have been other people there that were participating passively, that were enabling him, that were complicit, but maybe didn't have the level of the deviance in their mind that Diddy did. Absolutely all of them enabled him. They are complicit. I'm not removing culpability. I'm just saying that we need to have when you think about things like this, nuance is always present and it's important. So those are my thoughts for now. As this case evolves, I'll probably do other reactions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, all those YouTube things.